They stay the slave master and you break people enslaved. That's what it. Every task abilities do you have to your people, then you not being educated, and they completely wipe us out of all of that stuff. All right, the next one is pedagogy, which is where we are today. The science or profession of teaching or the theory of how to teach. It is ostensibly concerned with the methodology of teaching, that is, how the teaching process is carried out. And then the next one is, because there are four queries of pedagogy, how is one. Who is the next one, and that is who is at the center of the teaching process. The other one is why. Why is this kind to do what we feel is good for us? We got to do what other folks feel is good for them. Kind of focuses in on a lot of the stuff that the Mwalimu has to do. But on the first page it says an effective African-centered pedagogy seeks to, number one, legitimize African stores of knowledge. Subject books that are written by white folks. The scaffolding. European culture is the individual. So you got, I got to make sure that, my brothers and sisters are doing all right. And some traditional African cultures, when a brother and a sister get married, when we see stuff happening, we need to create stuff that promotes that inside of the community and build on it. Extend and build on the indigenous language. That is a real problem for us because we speak the oppressor's language. And when the only language that you can speak is the oppressor's language, you have difficulties because they know exactly what's going on. So you will see wherever we live in the world, if we speak in the oppressor's language, you will see us modifying it, going through different things. They call it all kind of stuff, slang, the African American vernacular. What's the other thing? The new African nation. That regardless of what language you speak, if you know Kiswahili, if you're anywhere in the world and you see an African, you can communicate with them. So we do need to have that. That language thing is really important. We'll talk about that a couple of other times as we go through this list. Community, nation, and race. It's always important that we begin to talk about how do we serve each other. And in everything that we work to do, we already going, so we're going to keep going. Brother Nate just called and said he was on the way. Just show him what page we're on. We're going to keep on going. When we talk about service, that we know it starts in the home, is to wash the dishes tonight. You got to make sure ain't no food on the plate, left on the plate. You got to make sure. And I used to, my turn to wash dishes, I used to wash with my hand. Like sometimes you wash with the thing. I used to wash with my hand so I could feel it, to see what was on it, make sure wasn't nothing on it. You got to be doing that. Promote positive social relationships. We starting to get buy-ins. It used to be the brother was always just seeking to get some. I just want some. It's changing, and we got to make sure that respect is there. And respect got to come both ways. Here it is, We got to move to the point where we push respect out there and respect for every different relation. We got to make sure that they understand that they know it, and that they not try to get something at the expense of somebody else. Support cultural continuity while promoting critical consciousness. That's going to come up a couple of times too. Cultural continuity. When I talked about African people looking out for the group, we got to just promote that. That's cultural continuity. When we see somebody that's weak in European society, again, I got mine. You better get yours. If you're too weak to get it, I ain't going to just feel sorry for you. I'm going to take something from you too. African society says, when you see the weak link, you work with that weak link to strengthen it up. And if they can't get strengthened, then you support them by giving them what they got to have. We got to keep pushing that kind of stuff inside of our community, and that's cultural continuity. We got to keep pushing it, but at the same time, we got to have critical consciousness. If I help this sister right here do stuff, instead of going over here to this group that I was getting ready to deal with, this sister gonna be all right. But these 15, 30, 50 people over here, work over here. We got to use our minds and not just, especially if it's your sister or your brother or your mama. We a lot of times we put that above everything else. And I'm saying, no, work still got to be done. You yes, take care of your mama, but it's work to be done over here. You can't just walk away from that. So that's where the critical consciousness comes in. Things we got to teach our children. Remember, this is African-centered pedagogy. We must seek to make our children learn to think critically and question everything. Everything you getting ready to do, you need to ask a question. And the basic question is, if I do this, what are the consequences, good or bad? And if the bad outweigh the good, don't do it. Don't be just stupid and do it. I remember I used to sit out in the projects I grew up in. It was a little circle of R's and stuff. And I used to sit and think critically, that they understand history. That is the one thing that has been a real setback for our people. Not only did they just wiped a whole bunch of our history out. All of the accomplishments and stuff that we made. When I used to go somewhere and do something, I was not just representing Kurt. I was representing all the Standifers, my entire family. I did not want my mom and daddy to be ashamed of me. And the next part is, I didn't want my community to be ashamed of me. So we got to make sure that we set good examples, and at the same time that we accept criticism. Somebody, if you do something wrong, you don't even know what's wrong that you didn't know. Somebody say, man, I understand what you're doing, but that wasn't cool because you caused this, and this to happen when you do that. Instead of, nigga, you don't tell me what to do. It's like, all right, brother, I'm going to take that under consideration. And then take it under consideration. Because all criticism is not an attack on you. It's just trying to increase, your ability to do better. So that's going to be really important. Which recognizes the importance of African heritage and traditions and geared to people. That's just saying everything, our culture, and to live the way we were, our ancestors developed for us to live. We're going to be all right because this is great. So if we're going to be great again, we got to make sure that we let that stuff go by. You got to straighten that out. And you did this was good, but you got to add on to this. That self-criticism is what makes you better. And you never be satisfied with what you did. I told y'all, my brother out on the West Coast, Wade Nobles, he said, we got to be more better. We did something good today, tomorrow we got to do it again, but we got to do it more better. Always moving to go forward. The next page, this is the page, African-centered pedagogy. This is the page where they kind of zoom in on the Walimu and what the Walimu is going to have to be about. African-centered teachers must advocate and be well-grounded in the following principles and stores of knowledge. I'm going to go through these a little quicker. In order. If we can make sure and stay in the positive pedagogical implications of the indigenous language, and we talked about indigenous Swahili, then we can speak to each other and talk with each other, folks. Because other folks ain't been through the kind of stuff that our children have been through. And some of them have been through the same kind of folks that white folks go through, because they on a different economic level, they got access to different kinds of things. But the old saying, what you call a black person with a PhD, what do white people call a black person with a PhD? Nigga. You still the same. So your children, regardless of how much money they got, they still treated like they're cut below. And so we got to figure out, how do we, as Mwalimus in the rites of passage process, how do we teach our children? How do we reach our children when the little white teachers be sitting up there saying, I don't know what to do with them, so I'm just going to ignore him or try to get him kicked out of my classroom so he just fails and what have you. We got to figure out, how do we get them Little boy told me one time, he said, I ain't gonna do nothing right so I can get kicked out of the program. I said, boy, as long as your mama bring you here, you ain't never getting kicked out. I'm gonna be in your butt every day. We can't never let them get away with nothing. Because they will try, our brothers and sisters, I'm telling y'all, they will try, if you ain't got but one nerve, they're going to find it and get on it. Our kids are geniuses, man. They find that stuff, boy. You can't let them get on it. We got to figure out how we turn that into something that we can use to take them to I'm already where I need to be. I'm going to take you somewhere. So, child development is important. African contributions in science, mathematics, literature, the arts, social organization, and so on. Just like when they teach us all of the scholastic disciplines, it's always white folks that they say invented, geometry. White folks that invented gravity. They say Benjamin Franklin discovered electricity, flying a kite. We got to make sure that our children understand that thousands of years before them chumps came on the scene, we was doing all of that stuff. They got to know it, they got to understand it, and they got to believe it. I told you that one little sister raised her hand and told me, she said, Baba Curry, I just don't believe niggas ever did any of that kind of stuff. I was like, oh, Lord, I got to start from the beginning and work through that. But once we understand it, once we know it to be a fact, can't nobody take it away from you, man. You know it. The need, teaching techniques that are socially interactive and positively effective. That you have teaching techniques that you can involve the rest of the group in. You might be talking to one person, but you want everybody else to be involved in it, so that once this person says what they got to say, everybody's hand go, wait a minute, I got to put something in, have those kinds of teaching techniques, and that they be socially interactive, but they be positively effective. That in the end, after everybody get their stuff out, now we got to think that how do we use this to benefit us and all of our people? So we got to make sure we do that as teachers. We have to have the need for continuous personal study. I talked about the need for us to study before. That you gotta study all of the time. The only way you get to teach stuff is if you know stuff, and so you gotta study. The African principle that children are the reward of life. You gotta really, one of the things I tell folks, that to be a Mwalimu, you gotta have a genuine love for African people in general, but for African youth in particular. If you don't love them, they will make you hate them. Because they gonna come with all kinds, but you gotta know, y'all are the reward of life. If it don't be for y'all, we got no future. We gotta make sure that we give y'all everything that y'all need, so that generations of our people can still come on board. If we let y'all get crazy and give in to all of the stuff that these folks are trying to get you to do, we getting ready to get wiped out, because they getting ready to get wiped out. And if we don't do what we supposed to do, we going down with them. So we got to make sure that we see children as being special, and that we don't see children as the future itself. That we see children as everything, the right now, the everything, and that it's probably in here somewhere, but that our as me as a teacher, me as the Mwalimu, my development and future is wrapped up into these children. So what I'm giving to these children is not just you better get this because you better get this because it's going to help you and it's going to help me too. I'm a part of this whole thing. So we got to see ourselves as part. If we fail in giving these children what they need, we are failing for ourselves as well. We got to keep that in mind. I ain't getting ready to go out like no chump, so I'm gonna teach these children. So I got some support. So if they come, y'all remember Sister Angela Davis used to say, if they take me tonight, they coming for you in the morning. So we got to make sure that if they take me, we can turn around and tell them, ha ha, y'all got me. But see that little hill right there? It's gonna be 100,000 million trillion billion of them coming over that hill after you. Cause I taught them, and I know they coming. We got to make sure that we do everything we can to make these children ready to stand up for African self. The continued statement. The other thing, this is the piece on of the principle, the teaching principle of reciprocity. That is, the teacher sees his or her future symbiotically linked to the development of the children. That's what I was just talking about. That we are one. That so we could keep going back to the old African proverb, I am because we are. And because we are, therefore I am. So keep that as teachers, we got to keep that in mind. It says the mwalimu must have or acquire these principles. They got to have a commitment to the establishment or the reestablishment of the African nation. That's what we're about. We are saying that the only way we can be positively provided for, educated, spoken for, to make sure that we feel free inside of our society is for us to provide that for ourselves. And the only way we can provide that for ourselves is self-government. We got to control our own everything. So the school system got to be ours. The economic system got to be ours. The educational system got to be, we got to control all of that stuff. If we don't have it, somebody else is in control of it. And we know when somebody else is in control of it, you ain't getting ready. You hardly get the dregs that they leave from it. So we got to make sure that we have it for ourselves. And the only way we can do that is to reestablish the African nation. And as Pan-Africanists, again, we got to make sure that when we talk about reestablishing the African nation, we're talking about uniting African people, number one. Everywhere we live in the world, African people, we got to be going. We got to be going. Brother was in the organization I used to be in. Even though I did not know him, he was on the West Coast and I was here. But we was all in the All African People's Revolutionary Party. But he went to Australia and was with the Aboriginal people. And he was saying, after we went through all of this stuff, and I'm no longer in that organization. He's no longer in it. That's when we said, "Man, you was in the APF. I was too." But he was saying that, man, our people in Australia, boy, they catching pure hell. Say them white folks has got, beating them down and ain't allowing them to do nothing. And one year, a sister out of the Aboriginal group was in the Olympics. Man, that was a big. He said, man, there was nothing bigger in Australia for the Aboriginal people than to have her running in the Olympics, because they don't never get nothing. We got to make sure we know about these people and be able to provide support for them, get support from them, because if they ain't got nothing, there's something they can give to our struggle too. But we, living in the belly of the beast, we got more that we can give to the struggle of our people elsewhere than anybody else. We right here where you can get your hands on some money. I'll be telling people we got a group that we have dues. We pay dues, so when people don't come with their dues. I'm saying, ain't no excuse in America. You can get $30 in America somewhere, And if you hang out on Friday or Saturday night around them clubs, you can see that all kind of people got $30. They're gonna blow 50 tonight, and some of them brothers be blowing $100, $200 just trying to get some. Show folks they got. All the Wanimus got to have a commitment to the reestablishment of the African nation. We have to be an ardent studier, again, of African culture and history. We got to make sure that we have that. And then we got to have that genuine love for African people in general and African youth in particular. If we don't have those things as a Wanimu, we need to learn them. And they can be learned, so that's why I'm telling y'all, it don't make no difference what educational background you have. Again, it do make a difference what legal kind of background you have, but only slightly. Again, I'm saying, if you got some serious violence in your past or some child abuse in your past, you can't teach my children. But if you got some, this society make us do all kind of crazy stuff just to survive. You got some other stuff, man. I sold drugs for 20 years, and I can, brother. You through with that? You see where you was wrong. I see it. You can teach. Cause you got all kinds of stuff to bring to the table with these children. Now we got one sister. We trying to. She was in the organization. She was teaching for a while, but she did some time in Marysville. And I keep telling her, I said, girl, you got all kinds of stuff that you can bring to the table for these girls. Because a lot of them is facing the same thing you was facing. You can bring some stuff up to them that can't nobody else bring to them. So, all of this, all of them felonies and stuff that they be putting on people, and that don't mean nothing to us. Unless you've been mistreating children or you just can't control your violence. Because like I said, them kids would take you to another level and you'll knock shit out of one of them. And if you do that, your days and the days of the group that you represent for teaching children is over. You can forget. All the parent got to do is file a complaint and it's done. So we got to make sure you be able to handle your temper and you ain't had no child abuse in your life. Rest of that stuff, we're going to work through it. Cause we got to have folks to come out there that really care about their community. And I ain't going to let somebody that, did 10 years in the penitentiary for selling dope. And I do know folks who have done 10 years in the penitentiary just for selling dope. Ain't hurt nobody, ain't killed nobody. Well, they have hurt people, but they ain't killed nobody, ain't done that stuff. But they did 10 years. I ain't got no problem. Come on up in here, brother, sister. We're going to teach you this stuff. So all of that stuff is important. I want to go through what I'm calling the process of African-centered pedagogy. The first piece in that is the development of the Walimu. That's what we're starting right here. To make sure that we put the Walimu in the frame of mind that there are certain things that I'm going to have to do and certain things that I just can't do. I told y'all last time, as grown folks, if y'all want to, have a drink, smoke a joint, I ain't got no problem. You grown. Come time for you to come out here and deal with these kids, you got to come correct. I don't want none of that stuff. I don't want to smell no liquor on your breath. Your eyes can't be red because you just smoked that blunt. Come out here and deal with these children correctly because they looking. And don't think they don't know. I remember when I was coaching, we was playing a game in Lincoln Heights one time, and the coaches for another team, because they used to have all them teams, them games put together. So the coach for another team was going to play later on. They were sitting in the car turning up 40s. I went right to the car. Hey, man, what y'all doing? Y'all getting ready to coach these kids. You don't tell us what to do. I'm grown. I'm saying, oh, man, y'all can't do that. We just cannot come incorrectly with our children because our children begin to think it's all right. So if you come incorrect, I can come incorrect too. So we got to make sure we check that. There's certain things that a Walimu can do, must do. There's certain things that a Walimu just can't do. The other things that they have to establish the objectives of the curriculum. Now I'm saying establish, not just understand them and be able to teach them. Help establish them. A curriculum is something that changes all of the time because times change and you got to make sure that everything that you're teaching, folks readily understand, can readily reach out and grab. So a lot of the stuff that's happening with the youth today was not happening when I was a youth. So a lot of stuff that I was getting taught, the kids, they be looking at you like you crazy. What is that, man? So you got to make sure the curriculum changes as times change. So we got to be a part of it. If I'm a Walimu and I'm teaching and I'm using this curriculum, I'm saying, man, this stuff ain't working. Why don't we try this? So get in the curriculum development committee and start putting together some new ways to do this kind of stuff. So you have to help establish the curriculum as well as understand completely the curriculum. When you're getting ready to teach, whatever topic you're getting ready to teach on, you got to make sure that before you go in that classroom, you got it all down. And you know what you're getting ready to do with them at this point, at this point, at this point. This point going to set up this point, this point going to set up this point. Leave room, like I said before, leave room for the youth input and be aware they're going to try to take it somewhere that you don't want it to go. And sometimes you just let them get out there a little bit, but you got to know I got to bring it back so that we can get back on course. But you got to make sure that that curriculum is something that you know inside and out because you done been a part of putting it together. And then the other thing is that the Mwalimu and the African world community, you got to make sure that you promoting cultural alignment with the world community and being involved with the world community and showing the youth. One of the biggest things that we could do inside of the Rites of Passage groups is to make sure that our youth know what's going on with other young people in different parts of the world. One of the biggest things, I think probably one of the most important things that I did when I was teaching Rites of Passage is that I took 10 of the boys to Africa with me. And, I knew they would have, I think we was in New York because we left from Columbus and went straight to Africa. It was completely different. It was like they was grown men over 28 days, all of the stuff they had to go through. Because they had to come in there and they had to look at different culture, different languages, different traditions, customs, everything. And they worked it. One time, sometimes I get a problem with telling these little stories and stuff. But one time, they were painting a schoolhouse. And that was one of the, because when we went to do traditional Rites of Passage all done. So we had bought the paint, they had the paint ready and everything, and they had the school for us. Well, the school was boys, and where it was sitting, the ocean was on one side of the school. And the school it was black. But we had to speak English. So I'm in there teaching the class, and they outside painting the building. The group would come in. I would go out to see how the boys was doing. They had people from the neighborhood helping them, holding the scaffolding, giving them the paint and stuff. Also, I said, man, y'all got it. Y'all, all of the stuff that we did, cause about 6 months before we went, we was working with them, trying to prepare them for what they was going to deal with. They got it, every last one of them. So those are the kinds of things, it just seemed like it just clicked in. Because a lot of times you don't really know if you giving them some stuff and they getting it until they get put to the test. And then there it is. Now, one more story talking about giving it to him. And when he went on by, I'm turning back to talk to the sister, and the brother says, Baba Kirk? I said, yeah. I turned around. He said, I know you don't remember me, man. He was walking up to me. He said, my name is Raymond. When I saw his face, I knew it then. I said, it's Raymond Walker. And my mind was saying, that was one of the worst boys I ever had. He said, this is my wife right here. These are my two boys. He said, man, the stuff y'all was teaching us, that's what I'm teaching them. I was saying, oh, really? He said, yeah, the thing about the 10 responsibilities of manhood, you got to be a spiritual man. You got to be an educated man. You got to be a self-knowledgeable man. You got to be, I'm like, he got it. And so I be saying to teachers, you don't never know. One of the things we try to make sure that you do is don't never let them sit up in the classroom and daydream or horseplay. Look at me. I am the star right now. Let me tell you this. I said, okay, Daddy. My mind be saying, hurry up and get through, man, so I can go do what I got to do. But as I got older and get in a situation, it pops up. And you be saying, damn, that's what Daddy was talking about. And I be saying, that man was a genius. I should have listened to him all along. We got to make sure that it gets in there. So don't let them daydream and horseplay and all that kind of stuff. Make sure it gets in there, because you don't never know when it clicks back on them. This boy got 2 boys, and I used to say, damn, I'm responsible for them. I'm going to teach them this stuff they was teaching us, And there it was. And I was shocked. I was like, damn, you just don't never know. The other thing about teaching is that when you get something that you could refer to as a victory, you can't get too high. When you get something you can refer to as a defeat, you can't get too low. Because tomorrow you got to go out and teach kids again. So you just got to keep that even keel. Although I was looking at the news one night on TV, and they had a drug bust in Seti Coon over there in one of the hills. The little projects they call Seti Coon. And they was bringing them boys up out of the house, because they had been selling drugs out the house. And that was one of the boys in my program. And he had the handcuffs on, and when they brought him by, he looked right at the camera and did like this. I was like, I be damned. So some of my instructors was calling, man, did you see the news? I said, yeah, I saw it, bro. You know, I said, but remember, tomorrow we got to teach, so let's get over it. You know, so you just got to do that. Now we got some boys that that done some marvelous things. I got some boys that came out of Woodward. Woodward is the school on Redden Road, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Woodward. I mean, I might get them W's mixed up, but Woodward. They came out of Woodward, and they went to school together. They was crazy. I mean, they was crazy. They were in junior high school. They still called it junior high school then. And the principal of junior high, she took them together. One of them was there when you could get him, but he was always across the street. They had a lot of video games in Swifton Commons, and he was always over there playing the video games. So I told him, I said, look, I said, y'all can do some great things for our people, man, but y'all got to make sure y'all bring all the understanding that you got together. I say, first thing y'all got to do, y'all got to make up your mind that you got to get some understanding about putting together, because they kept saying, I want a business where I can make some money. I say, if you want to put a business together, you got to get some understanding about how you deal with this business stuff in this society. Folks gonna cut you up. So I said, you're gonna have to go to school. And so they all said, okay, we're gonna do it. I said, now look, somebody got to look at how you deal with employees, how you handle them, how you put the whole thing together. Somebody got to deal with the law to make sure that the organization ain't doing something that's against the law, and then everybody so you can go to jail. Somebody got just breaking everything down. And the little brother that used to do the video games, I said, you need to be the one to deal with communications. How you put together the community. It was a subsidiary of Reebok. They opened it up, and they called me and said, okay, we got this business going. And last year, it was our first year running, said, we made $1 million. I said, what? I said, I ain't heard nothing. He said, no, we was just scuffling with it, trying to make sure it was right. He said, we building a community center for the community, and we want you to come down when we inaugurate the community center and speak. I was like, well, I'd be damned. I go down there, and it was just one, the people in the community knew him. Everybody was coming there, of course they had to spread out there. Everybody, a lot of them was coming because they was hungry, they can't eat and stuff. But man, it was just beautiful. They since have sold the subsidiary, maybe back to Reebok. But I don't know what all of them are doing right now. I do know one. I was in touch with them maybe a year ago. But when you get them kind of victories like that, you can't get too high. You enjoy it right there at the end of the month. On the way back home, I was saying, okay, now what I'm gonna do with these boys? I got 3 boys that I can't get to them. I'm gonna get to them. I done forgot about the victory part. I want to focus on what I got to do with these little crazy little boys that I'm having problems with. So, as a teacher, you always got to just keep staying one step ahead. And if something good happened, that's what you're trying to make happen. If something bad happened, now that becomes a piece that you use with the rest of the boys. It was hurting to tell them boys that little brother got caught up in a drug raid, but I had to do it because that was part of the whole teaching process. And they were like, "Oh, he did? Oh man, I remember when he was in the group." Yeah, well, he's in penitentiary now. But so a lot of that kind of stuff is to let them know if you step the right way, you might be able to get something that's great. You step the wrong way, ain't no doubt at some point you're going to get something that's going to be really, really harmful to you. So we got to make sure that we keep that on them. Now, I want to, I got 11:27. I want to look at the whole thing about pedagogy. So if you see the thing that says 4 queries of pedagogy, and the first one is why. Not only tells us why we have to teach it, but it tells us how we teach it. It tells us who's going to teach it. And the main thing is it tells us what we're going to teach. But this piece here, and I think I think 3 of the questions are being answered here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I got why, who, and how. Pages 1, 2, and 3 right there. The question of why says the following are some of the major reasons in African-centered pedagogy that African-centered pedagogy is necessary in instructing our youth. Number one, Africans are dominated by an alien culture, preventing us from serving our true interests. And we understand that. I mean, that's first and foremost. We got to know that this what we're getting taught in this society ain't helping. So that's the first thing. We cannot be all that we can be until we first know what we've already done. That goes back to the historical piece. We ain't got no idea of how truly successful we were. So that's just a saying, I don't believe niggas done none of that stuff. So at some point, as we went through the whole thing, it was like, I don't want to hear you referring to our people as niggas no more. And we did some magnificent stuff. But be clear. I know I'm folding away again like the kids do. When we adhere to our own culture, our own spirituality, our own values and principles, we did magnificent stuff. We did some stuff couldn't nobody else in the world do at that time. Nobody. That's the greatness of African people. And I keep saying, we're going to be great again. But because of our spirituality, our culture, and the values and principles that came out of that culture, that's what made us great. If we're going to be great again, we better understand what made us great in the first place. That's how come we keep saying we got to go back to our culture, back to who we were, what made us great. How come we was able to do all of this stuff? How come everybody in the world, as big as it was at that time, came to Africa to learn how to do that stuff? We got to really make sure we get to that. Another reason is that we are not proud of ourselves, seeing ourselves as a race of slaves struggling just to be good as others. We are not proud of ourselves. And every time somebody bring up slavery, our kids get kind of cringing about it. You try to show them a video about slavery. I don't know if I want to see that stuff, they want to kind of separate themselves from that as though we are no longer slaves. I remember Hakeem Adabudi. Y'all know Hakeem be here the 9th. Hakeem Adabudi used to say, we are still slaves, but we are the most comfortable slaves in history. He said, we drive around in Cadillacs, don't even know we slaves, but we are, because we ain't got nothing. We pretty much don't manufacture nothing. When it comes to talk about businesses, the amount of businesses that we have and the richness of the businesses that we have is nil compared to what them other folks is doing. When it comes to the whole educational especially, you don't live if you don't eat. Agriculture, we are less than 1% of the farmers in this country. We can't even feed ourselves, So we don't do nothing. So everything that is life-giving and life-maintaining, we get from somebody else. And if we depended on somebody else giving us that stuff, if they like white folks and don't want to give it to us, here we are in this situation. So we got to make sure, wait a minute. So we got to make sure that we show our children to be proud of themselves. And the only way we can do that is to begin to do stuff for ourselves. When they start seeing that, okay, I got you. I'm with you now. But we can't tell them, boy, you got to go out there and start a business. Boy, you got to go out there. You be an entrepreneur. Boy, you got to go out there and start school. We got to just take them by the hand. Come here. Come on, boy. Let me show you. Come with me. I'm going to show you how to do it. We got to, if we understand it, we got to be the ones to show them how to do it. It ain't just tell, it's show and tell. We got to make sure that we don't just tell them to go out there and do it. We got to make sure that they see us doing it too. That's going to be crucial for us. We are not on the path of doing things the African ways. And we be real careful that we don't denounce a lot of the stuff that they adhere to right now, initially. Show them how they can take what they're doing right now and make a positive out of it. How could I see the on that? But they own Facebook. That bitch, they didn't do this. Oh, come on, y'all. Let's see if we can take that stuff and promote reestablishing the African nation with it. Can we do that? Can we get that done? If we can do that, let them use the stuff that they're using right now. But the the nastiness that I keep calling it nasty. I don't want to get too much more descriptive of it. But I be telling them, I say, would you listen to that song right there with your mama, your grandmama? You know, and a lot of them be saying, no, I don't think so. Of course, someone gonna say, man, she like this dude. She bought it for me. But that's what we got to do. We got to make sure that we are pushing them to do the positive kinds of stuff. Um, um, I'm trying to see which ones I don't have to really go into, and I can go past. We need to be clear. This is number 5. We need to be clear on who we should be, thinking that living comfortable as individuals should be our ultimate objective. Most of us have no desire to work for the reestablishment of the African nation. Most of the time, we get. Y'all remember the reggae singer Muda Baruka? Muda Baruka wrote a song one time, said, it's no good to live in a white man's country too long. So we started acting like white folks. So the more we get, the more we think we good. Nigga, you ain't got this. You ain't got no money. Put out money in the you got some of this, nigga. You know, we got to make sure that is not a comfortable place to be living. That it's comfortable when all of y'all can reach down in your pocket and pull some money out. Yeah, we doing it. As a people, we doing it. You know, we got to move it to that point. But we still got that individual kind of stuff in us because that's what we're being taught in this society, that the individual is what's important, not the group. So we got to be careful with that. Number 6 is if we are not clear on where we should be, we certainly are not clear on how we get there. We have no idea. First of all, we don't know where we at now. We don't have any idea of where we are. And when you try to teach about how did you get here, folks don't want to hear that. But once you know where you are, now you can begin to look at, this is where I should be. And if this is where I should be, what do I need to do in this step-by-step process to get there? That's what becomes important. So we got to teach them, you are not where you should be. You got to make sure that you step-by-step get to where you should be. So in order to say this is where we should be, we got to show it to them. Look, when we African independence, that's what we should be. We should be taking care of our own stuff. We got to be able to show them that and make sure that they see it, understand it, and are moving towards it as well. Number 7, this one is crucial, and this is where y'all come in. We must be taught that self-sufficiency is the only way we regain pride in ourselves and respect for ourselves. We got to be taught that because right now, folks are saying, look, man, if I can sell these drugs, I can get some money and buy. I got a relative who has a couple of Mercedes cars, an Escalade. They don't have that Hummer no more. But I mean, they think, man, look, I'm doing it. I can take care of myself. I'm saying, but bruh, think of all of the people that's starving to damn death right here in America, right here in Cincinnati, and you riding around in the trinkets that you gave all your dope money that you made back to them white folks. You can't do that kind of stuff. So we got to make sure that they understand. It ain't about you as an individual. It's about us as a collective. But we got to be taught that the only way we can do that without doing the I want to call them criminal stuff. When I talk about white folks, to call them criminals ain't hard enough, ain't harsh enough, man. You know, yeah, it's an understatement. But we to stop doing that criminal stuff that white folks is doing and begin to do the stuff that's going to build and develop the entire African community. That's what we got to do. And it says that we have to establish an all-African world government. Well, we talked about having that world government before, but we got to make sure that we do it in steps. I'm right now working on developing a council of elders, but it came out of me working to develop a council of elders in my family, because everything starts with the family. And council of elders with the family, now we're looking at doing it on a community-wide level. Then you got to look at doing it on the nationwide level where our people are living. Then you got to look at the overall picture of African world community. You know, so we got to start looking at how do we develop governance for all of those different parts of the world where we are. with one overseeing everything. So those are the kinds of things. African redemption is crucial. That is crucial to our survival and development. But making sure that we develop governance, we're going to do in this training. But a lot of times inside, when you come into our organization, we do these workshops. One of them is on white supremacy. One of the things we got to make sure that we understand is that of all of the peoples of the world, we Africans are the furthest away from Europeans than any of them. Not just in the way we look. Obviously, they represent no color. We represent all color. But our culture is completely different from theirs. The kinds of stuff that they pushing is diametrically opposed to in our culture. Our homeland is completely different from theirs. We got Africa is the richest piece of dirt on the face of this earth. And that's how come everybody is trying to get their claws in there to get some of it. And right now, everybody's benefiting from it but us. So that's completely away from us. Our whole piece around spirituality is completely different from them. They seek to control everything, even nature. Our spirituality says that we have to become one with nature. We have to live in harmony. See, that piece in the Ma'at about harmony and balance, that is saying that we have to be in harmony and balance with everything. That we have to look at parts of nature that is not human and understand that it's important. I always tell the story about when I was in Africa, we lived with the woodcutters for a little while. We was living with different groups of people that did different kinds of skills, had different skills. When I lived with the woodcutters, we was getting ready to take the boys out to do some kind of project, and the woodcutters had circled around these trees, and they was going through some rituals. When we came back, it was still circled around the tree, and I asked the brother that was with us, that was our interpreter, I said, "Man, what's going on?" He said, "They're doing rituals because they're getting ready to uproot them trees and use them in their wood carving stuff." He said they got to make sure that the rest of the universe knows that they intend to replace the trees and they intend to use the wood that they take from the trees to benefit the community at large. And they had to go through that because they understood the importance of the tree. There was another story about, and I saw that with my eyes though, but there was another story that I read about a white man was watching this farmer, and he had a little hole. He was going down with the little hole, and he ran into a big rock. And so he backed up, and he started going through a ritual with the rock. And the white boy was sitting up there looking and said, "Look at that dumbass nigga down there praying to a rock." He understood the importance of that rock being there. Wouldn't have been there if the creator or the movement of the universe hadn't put it there. But he had to move it because he's planting food for folks. He had to make sure everybody in the universe understood, I got to move this thing for the benefit of all of these folks that we're trying to feed. So being one with nature is what our spirituality tells us we need to be. When white folks want to control everything, they just want to know how to make it rain, how to make it stop raining, how to make everything. So we got to make sure that we when we start teaching our children, we got to go far beyond where the white folks are to make sure that we get to the place where we are. And that, I'm just saying all of that to say that's part of the reason that they despise us, because they know we are far, far away from them. The other thing is they also know how much genius is inside of our people. And they know that if we ever get together, come together like we talking about doing, they days of doing dirt on this earth is over. They know it. All right, the question of who? This is you. This is the Walimu. The Walimu has to have a genuine love for African people in general and African youth in particular. We said that. You have to have a commitment to the reestablishment of the African nation. You must understand the social ethics of African culture, and understand that the social ethics of African culture are exemplified in the philosophy of Aact. There's a piece in there about Aact and the 42 admonitions of Aact in the book that you can look at. Must be an ardent studier of the history and culture of African continent and the diaspora. Must demonstrate political and community organizing while within the African community. Must have knowledge of child development principles that are relevant to the productive growth of African children. Have knowledge of African contributions in science, arts, mathematics, all of the scholastic disciplines, have knowledge of teaching techniques that are socially interactive and positive, effective, must live by the principle that children are the reward of life, and they must have knowledge of the principle of teaching reciprocity, that a teacher sees his or her future symbiotically linked to the development of their students. Those are the things that we have been through as far as the Walimu is concerned. We talked about that last week, and we hit on it again this week. Now, the question of how. How do we actually? And we're not going to talk about what today. What we're going to save that until we break down the curriculum, because that's the question of what. But on the question of how, it says for the students in the process, we must provide reinforcement of positive values, always pushing that which is positive. We must facilitate meaningful family involvement. That means going to their houses, talking to their parents. Sometimes parents don't want you to come to their house. You're talking to them on the phone, and you set up parent component meetings so that they can come to parent component meetings. Sometimes they don't want you to come to their house. Sometimes they don't want you to come to their house because, the condition of the house is raggedy, run down. You got critters in the house and stuff. We got to be beyond that. I didn't live in places where I didn't have all of that in my house, so I can come in and deal with that. But sometimes they don't want you to come in the house because they got some illegal kind of stuff going on up in there, and so you just got to take that into consideration. But you do have to make sure you have meaningful family involvement. Stimulate community involvement. That is with the children. Make sure that they are involved in community activities. If ain't no community cleanup, let them organize one on Saturday morning. Go out there and clean up the community. Number 4 is facilitate social identification. Social identification is, number 1, that I am an African. I know white folks didn't call me everything, but I understand Africa was responsible for my existence. Had it not been for Africa, I would not be. And regardless of what you want to call Africa, if we call it Africa right now, that's what I represent. The next thing is, I am a young brother or sister in the American society, and this is my responsibility, being this age, this gender, in this society. So facilitate social identification so they know who they are and how they're supposed to conduct themselves. Mediate transition to independent community role. That the children got to understand that, yes, I am completely dependent upon those who are supporting me right now. But at some point, I'm going to have to do that myself. And we got to make sure we start preparing them for that. Facilitate identification with community, nation. We got to make sure that they understand that back to the I am because we are. No man is an island. You can't stand by yourself. Everything that I am is because of what people gave to me and taught me and pushed me to become. And once I get to that point, I have to make sure that I give back to that which brought me here. So that's the I am because we are, and because we are, therefore I am. The next one is facilitate skill content mastery. We got to make sure that these youth understand you got to have a skill in order to provide for yourself, your family, and to give back to your community. So we got to make sure that they begin to understand, how do I develop a skill? Let them first start looking inside of themselves. What do you like? What do you do all of the time? That's where you first start looking. But make sure you develop a skill that is useful for you and your community. Advanced spiritual moral development. We really got to push that, because a lot of times I would always ask kids, everybody here believe in God? Anybody not believe in God? No, nobody raise their hand and say don't believe in God. Everybody say I believe in God. Then why are you always doing all this crazy stuff that's ungodlike? And I'm using the term God loosely because I know where that comes from too. But we got to make sure that they have that spiritual development, and that means understanding that everything in the universe is important. So when you start looking at white folks and how they disrespect resources, both natural resources and human resources, that you can't do that, because that's not what African spirituality is all about. All right, provide comprehensive cultural environment. We need to have the youth put on those cultural programs. Let the youth sponsor Kwanzaa program. Let the youth put, we got to make sure that they begin to do those things, or that's when you understand them. You can get the study smarts about it, but when you get the do smarts about it, that you out there doing it, that's when it really set in and say, oh, I got this now. You Now for the family, because the Walimu has to deal with the youth and the family. For the family, you got to help develop foundational parenting. We have so many parents who be. One sister told me, she said, Bobby Curry, I don't know what to do with him. She said, if you want him, you can have him. You know what I'm saying? Now we're going to teach you what to do with him, because he belongs to you. He's your responsibility to raise, and we're going to make sure that you understand how to do that. But we got so many, especially our parents are being younger and younger and younger. They don't really know how to deal with these kids. And the kids are always exposed to that stuff that's happening every day in the streets. So they doing stuff that the parents just don't know what to do. So we got to make sure that's why we always put together what we call a parent component. We bring parents together at least once a month to talk about what we're doing in the program, how they can reinforce the principles of the program in their homes, and how to get an understanding of how the youth are developing when they're not inside the program. Because we put together all kind of environment stuff for the kids in the program. When they leave us, a lot of times they ain't got none of that stuff no more. And sometimes when they come back to you, it's like starting all over again. So we want to make sure that the parents kind of reinforce the stuff that we're doing. Provide cohesive and nurturing social unit. That we show them how you make everybody in the household work together. That the siblings, we interested in the siblings. We got this boy, this girl in rites of passage right now, but they coming next. We're going to get them too. So let's start preparing them, getting them ready. So the family got to become a cohesive unit. One of the things we tell them is, if y'all make this happen at least once a day, let the family eat together. Just sit down at the table and eat together. Now you get an opportunity to be a parent. Ask the children, what went on today? How was your day? What do you need me to do? But at least we got to start looking at ourselves as a unit. If somebody just cooked the food, leave it on the stove, everybody come get some when they want to. A lot of times you don't get that coming together kind of a thing. So we try to provide a cohesive and nurturing social unit. As Walimu, we want to initiate spiritual and moral development inside of the family. Provide models and character development. That's a big thing. We got to be the model. I can't tell y'all how many sisters in the program have offered themselves to me. We got to be the model. Say, sister, I'm flattered, but I'm not interested. I'm married. Keep that ring on. I'm married, and I'm happily married. And even if I wasn't happily married, I ain't getting ready to start messing with all of the women in the neighborhood. That's not reflective of a moral development inside of myself. So we got to make sure that we be the models of that model development character. Reinforce social norms and expectations. Make sure we inside of our organization are working with some people who are trying to form a homeschool network, because we're sick and tired of what they're teaching our children in these schools. At the same time, we got the vast majority of our children still in these schools. And we trying to tell these kids, when you go up in there, knock that stuff out. I got two granddaughters that I was homeschooling for a couple of years. Now they back in the public school system because my oldest granddaughter took custody of them. And, they just showed me the report card. One of them got a B. The rest of them is A's. The other one, she always get all A's. I don't know how she do it because she crazy. But but we got to make sure that we put some expectations up there. And not just in school. Look, the chores around the house, that's a really important piece. Get your chores done, because that's showing responsibility. How you conduct yourself in the street. I tell them all the time. With that one granddaughter I talked about she got problems. She got a big mouth. And she always running her mouth. I'm saying, girl, look, what you got to do is you got to make sure you understand people all around. They're watching you. And they forming opinions based on what they see. If you got to, especially in them schools, Trick them. Make them think you the best thing that ever happened to that school. When all the while you hating their guts. Because you never know when something kindly from them might pop open an opportunity for you. You might want this job, or you might want to get in this college, and they be saying, "No, don't put her in there. She is crazy." But if they said, "Yeah, she's been a good student. She's you fooled them. I ain't got no problem with fooling them." All right, and reinforce family continuity. Again, that's back to just bringing the family together. Now, in terms of the community and the African world community, the Mwalimu has to maintain clarity and vitality of national identity. We are African people, and don't let nobody back you up off of that. Brother from Mali used to tell me all the time, say, "No, you Black American, you Black American." Boy, I'm just as much African as you. We got to make sure that they understand that, and we can't back up off of it, because that's one of the oppressors' weapons, is divide and conquer. If they can keep us thinking that we different, we ain't never coming together, and that's what he fears the most. Provide a collective African culture to make sure that people everywhere we exist in the world understand that this culture we're talking about is something everybody can adhere to. We might not be able to establish African culture per se in America, but we can look at the principles and values that came out of that and begin to use those. So we got to make sure we're able to push that. Reward socially, culturally, creative behavior. Whenever our children do something that is good, we gotta make sure we reward things. The next reward socially, culturally, creative. 29 or 30 says that we, the Mwalimu, are not children in the penitentiary. I'm guaranteeing you, they sitting there right now thinking, man, my son told me many times, I wish I had all right. Got to fall back on. Anybody got any questions? That is the pedagogy to split off and get the information as well. Next week we're going to deal with rites of passage, which is what we do. So I would advise y'all to just kind of look through the stuff in the rites of passage segment, and be ready to talk about rites of passage next time, because that's what we do. That the rites of passage process. I need to make sure that we understand what it is, that it is an extension of the what in Africa they call initiation, where they just, I wish we could do it, but they just take the youth and separate them from the whole community and teach them the coming responsibilities of adulthood. Well, we can't do it. We do it every now and then. We can get them away somewhere, a camp or something. But it's real good when you can get that complete separation. But that's what we're going to do next week, rites of passage. Any questions? I got y'all at our organization. But if you want to do it through your group, your church, your household, whatever, use this stuff, because it will work, especially when we get to the point about talking about the curriculum and you start seeing what it is we teaching and how we want to teach it. That's when you start saying, okay, this is good work, So I trust that all of y'all will become Mwalimus, and we'll be able to begin to develop those generations of youth who will be standing tall for African redemption or African independence. And at some point, we're going to make it happen. Now, me or the rest of us may not see it on this plane, but whenever we move to the next plane, we'll be able to see it if we do our work now. All right, anything else? All right, well, I appreciate y'all being here. I'm going to close the session by saying Hotep.
All right. Now, so the next Saturday will be the 5th. The 19th, we have a pre-Kwanzaa. It's not a pre-Kwanzaa. It's a Nguza Saba celebration. We'll be going over the principles, because our whole thing is that we need to be doing this all year round. This ain't no one-time holiday type thing. But that'll be on the 19th at Coreyville Library. But we'll have information online. But also, we'll be doing the second day of Kwanzaa,
The 27th.
27th, which is a Sunday. that we're doing Kujitagalia Kwanzaa. So we'll have information online about that. So
That was going to be.
Online site? What's the website?
the website is a4act.com.
Brother, there was a brother who called me and said he couldn't get it. He couldn't. He said he did that and he couldn't get it. I tried it and I couldn't get it.
a4act.com.
The number 4?
No.
Yeah,
No.
the number 4.
No, I just did 4.
Oh no.
Oh, okay.
It's a play on words. It's our organization name is Academy for African Community Transformation. So,
Act.
So instead of AACT, we put A4 as an FOR or FOUR, ACT.com.
Yeah, I'm left out the A. I don't know what he left out, but he couldn't get it.
But if understandable things happen. If you're not able to be here, if you go to the meeting room that's on the site when it comes up, the live session, like we're doing live feed, so it's you'll be able to watch it from your computer.
Who won't be here next Saturday?
I'll be
Two
on
years.
duty next.
Yeah, I know how the firefighter thing go.
Yeah. But I'll be online.
You good for Reed?
I'm good.
My brother.
The other option is, I sign in sheet.
I forgot to sign
New
it.
people, I'll get your contact. We have a
yeah.
conference call option as well. So if you don't
But
have
can you give me a piece of paper and let them put their stuff on there? I think we got everybody else's.
I do have a question for December the 19th. Is that going to be from 10 to 12?
No.
Or
No.
is it a different time?
I believe that is from 4 to
In the afternoon, yeah.
Pull it up. I believe it's from 4 to 6. I didn't want to say it out loud and be wrong, so I was like, I'm gonna get everybody, because most everybody, exception for the newer people, I know we got some connection online, and so we'll be putting a lot of promotion through Aact, through CPAC, through some of the other pages. So we'll definitely be in contact with y'all about that. But I can't get you
Yeah, we forgot to tell you about the program we did last Sunday. It was the brother in our group who has been working in Tanzania, and so that's why.
it was the next.
Yeah, it was the next day. It was the next day. It was that Sunday. Yeah. All right. Can we? If we got the piece of paper, everybody who, yeah, Fareed, that would be Nate, Fareed, and Sharif. We'll put y'all stuff on there.
Yeah, I'm good.
They got some juice or something over there.
Yes, we have water and pastries.
Yeah, y'all get some of that stuff, man.
You put some in the mail for me.
You got it coming, Brian. It might be a little crusty.
Yeah, I think we
Hey,
said.
but it was a valuable presentation. I like how it was well put together, and I appreciate it.
Good, brother. We appreciate you too. This brother's down in Tennessee. Where he from?
I'm in Cookville, Tennessee. It's an hour west of Nashville. It's 5.5 hours south of Cincinnati.
Yeah, he came down for one of our events
Mm-hmm.
last year.
Yeah.
Actually, that was earlier this year, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, earlier this year.
All right, perfect.
All right. Nothing else.
Okay.
Dismiss. That's what the teacher say. Dismiss. The bell ring. Boo.
Stop conference recording, press 1. This session is no longer being recorded.
So you live on Sunridge, right?